My name is Mary with actually 2 R's, not 1. And yeah. So before we start, let me ask you guys a question. What do you think about waking up in the middle of the war, surrounded by bombing, destruction, and famine while simply trying to survive? And yeah, as you guessed, today I will be talking about modern history and war. So many of you actually learned this topic through numbers, victories, policy, or development in school already. In other words, you guys usually learn these topics through an objective perspective. However, today I want to deliver this topic through a more personal and emotional view by introducing you guys the book The Mountain Sings, written by Nguyễn Phan, a Vietnamese poet and writer. So we will start with the characters, then the plot, and then the analysis. As you can see here, this is a big family tree, but actually the book just focuses on 2 main characters, which is Hương, the granddaughter, and Yu Lang, the grandmother. So Yu Lang actually represents the past in the book. She experienced many hardships during war, famine, and political events. And on the other hand, Hương represents the younger generations, experiencing the effects of war and its aftermath. Their relationship actually connects the past and the present throughout the story. So this is a historical fiction book, which means it is based on many important periods in Vietnamese history. Before 1945, Vietnam was under colonial rule. Then there was the mass famine in 1945 during World War II. In the 1950s, political campaigns and land reform brought further suffering. In 1960s to 1975, the Vietnam War caused destruction, separation, and loss among many civilians. And even after the reunification in 1975, people still had to recover from the emotional and physical impacts of the war. So, what does this book actually delivers to us? Firstly, war doesn't end when it ends. It lives on inherited trauma. We can see this clearly at the ending of the book when the war ended. But however, Hương mother, who worked as a medic during the war, still has to recover and still suffers from emotional damage, anxiety, and trust issues. Throughout the story, many of Hương relatives also went missing or died because of the conflict. Even Hương, the main character herself, couldn't actually recover from all the painful experience and the horrifying scenes she witnesses during those years. Secondly, ideology becomes dangerous when policy turns people into categories. Well, originally in the book, the Chung family is wealthier than most of their neighbors, which also means that they had more land to grow crops, better living condition, and financial stability. However, they were never arrogant or selfish. They treat everyone with kindness and generosity. Everything was peacefully until the land reform campaign in 1953, which changed their life forever. In fact, this event was based on real Vietnamese history. During the land reform, many people misunderstood or misused the policy, and leading into false accusation, or innocent people wrongly punished or executed everywhere, leaving deep emotional scars among many communities in Vietnam. Last but not least, the story teaches us what textbook often can't. The human cost and the warning signs. So, as I already said at the beginning of this presentation, we actually learned history. We usually learn history through an objective perspective. That means that we mostly focuses on date, victories, and policy, which is important, but it doesn't show how people actually suffer, how people actually live through those events. That's why stories like The Mountain Sing are so meaningful. They don't simply just teach us or say that this happened or that happened. They showed us through the characters' grief, fear, sacrifices, and resilience. They actually showed us what happened. They actually showed us the human side of the story. They actually showed us how people in that time actually lived through those events. They actually survived. Also, by reading these stories, people can develop more empathy, more emotion, and more conscious among those consequences of the conflict. This also shows that history or war isn't simply just conflict over government or money. It actually affects how people lives were permanently changed back then. Thank you for listening.